Welcome to Khetz Tutorials, and in this video I'll be doing question 42 from A exercises in James Stewart Calculus 8th edition. So now we're given a formula which describes the height of a ball which has been thrown from a building, and this is what it is, and we're asked to find the time interval where it is at least 32 feet above the ground. So now the word at least is very important here. This basically means that it is 32 and above. Right, so this is a formula that describes the height, and we want this height to be 32 and or above. So greater equals 32. And to solve this inequality, to find t, which is the time interval, we are going to first divide everything by -16, or you can choose any order of these steps, or you can start in whichever way you like, just that I'll start in this way. So dividing everything by -16, and remembering that when you divide an inequality by a negative or multiply by a negative, the sign basically changes its direction. So now if I divide everything by -16, this will be, so this portion will be t squared, and that will be -t, that there will be -8. This sign will change to that, and on this side I have -2. Moving this -2 over to this side becomes positive, which means that constant will now be -6. And now we can factorize this. So factors of -6, which give you -1. I'm going to write that -1 in terms of those factors, and those factors is 2 and -3. So now I converted that -1 to 2 and -3 just for factorization purposes. And if I now factorize t on this side, I have t plus 2. Factorize -3 on this side, I also have t plus 2. Now I have a common bracket, t plus 2, and this here, so t minus 3. We can now find the critical values, then solve or find the regions which satisfy this condition. So on number line, we're going to have our critical values, and those should be -2 and 3. So those are critical values. And from these critical values, we're going to look at each region. So that region, that region, and that region. Starting with numbers or t's which are less than -2. So let's pick -3. It's close enough. So -3 plus 2 would be -1. And we're evaluating the signs of these. So just by evaluating the sign of one of them in each of the regions, then we can conclude what happens there. And here, we're going to substitute -3 again, and that is -6. So if you multiply these two, you have a positive. So in this region, all of these are positive. So everything less than -2 gives a positive result. Then let's look at the region between -2 and 3. So let's pick 0. So 0 plus 2 will be 2. 0 minus 3 will be -3. The result there is negative. Moving over to the next region, which is numbers or the times which are greater than 3. So t greater than 3. In this new region, we have, let's pick 4. So 4 plus 2 is 6, and 4 minus 3 is 1, and this is a positive result if you multiply these two brackets. So finally, the last gives a positive, but let's go back to the question. We're looking for regions which are less or equal to 0, and critical values are points where we have a 0. So we're going to include these critical values, and as you can see, this is the region where we have a negative. So we're going to have shaded dots in this case to show that -2 and 3 are also included in the answer. And if you were to write your answer down, it would be x is an element of -2 to 3 included. But now remember that we're dealing with time. So even though the correct answer is between -2 and 3, since we're dealing with t, which is the time in this current problem, we're going to go to 0 actually. And that is why we're going to give our answer as this. And the square brackets show that we actually including the answer. So you can draw this, which is perfectly fine. But to answer the question, we actually take 0 so that it corresponds to the time. You don't have negative time. Another way to write this would be something like this. So it's t, and you can make the correction here as well. So it's not x, just use 2x. So t is an element of, so that t which you have in the equation, 0 to 3. And it's important for you to analyze the question and figure out if it makes sense to have a positive in that case. In this case, we have time, and so it didn't make sense.